The biggest thing you can do is stack as many odds in your favor if you want to be successful, but the biggest one is always having a purpose.
He built online presence with over 4 million followers, making six-figure income without ever showing his face. Sami Syed.
There's a saying in sales, you can know nothing about the product, but if you know everything about the prospect, you can sell them anything. We could go from 0 to 1,000 followers within 24 hours.
What did your trajectory to get here look like?
I was buying, selling Instagram accounts. I started seeing drop shipping popping off. I make one Instagram post, the image of the product, and in a day, made $2,500 in sales off one post.
Van life, are you interested in that?
I'll be honest, I'm not into it. So I started reaching out to these van builders, help me create a masterclass. And so that was like my MVP offer.
What kind of revenue you do off of digital products?
We have 2,000 subscribers currently, so we're doing six figures.
What's your vision long-term?
Grow Project Van Life and exit out of that business.
Where did faith come into the equation?
Family has always been my biggest driver. The faith has always been in the equation as well. It's a roadmap for what's right and wrong. It's a way of living life. That's a fact.
Sami Syed, welcome to the Golden Mic, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much, man.
4 million followers, right?
Yes,
you're 22 years old, 4 million followers. You started at age 14?
15.
15. So you've been doing it for 7 years. You got 4 million followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
We're about to have a fun conversation. So we're sitting in the other room. We're at Inner Circle, or not, yeah, Inner Circle. Unlock the Secrets. And down here in Mexico, we're sitting in the other room. And you tell me, I got 4 million followers on Instagram. I'm like, sweet. And you go, and I have a marketing agency. And I went, why? And then you're like, well, and I'm like, we got to talk. So welcome. The purpose of the podcast is to create the place where the conversation happens. I'm just going to turn it over to you. I'm here to learn. So fill us in. Who are you? How'd you get into what you're doing? And let's start there.
Sounds good, man. So my name is Sami. I run a business called Project Van Life. We have 4 million followers organically across all of our social media channels. I managed to grow all of these followers without ever showing my face on camera or being the one who teaches in the products that we sell. I started off when I was 15 years old. I started off by buying and selling Instagram accounts. So similar to how you would flip a car or flip a house, I would buy an Instagram account, I would grow it, and then I would sell it for a profit. And so that's kind of what got me started in the online game. I was introduced to that from a friend of mine and his cousin because they were going on like a bunch of online forums trying to figure out how to make money, and they found this method. I saw them doing it, and I'm like, I need to start doing this too, because at the time, like my family, we were struggling financially. I was looking around me and I was seeing like all my older siblings, my dad, everyone was kind of going down the same exact route of like, you know, get an education, get a job.
Yeah.
And I started to realize that if I go down that same path, I'm going to have the exact same outcome.
Yeah.
And so I was essentially like, I got to do something different. And I was also 15 at the time. So I wanted to be able to contribute to my parents like financially and help them out. I couldn't get a job because I was too young. So when this online opportunity kind of came up to me, I was like, I need to make something out of this.
Okay. Wow. Let's back up. Where are you from?
I'm from Canada.
Canada? Born and raised?
I was born in Pakistan, raised in Canada. We came here when I was like 4 years old.
4 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. And how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have 3 older siblings.
3 older siblings.
I'm the youngest.
You're the youngest. Okay. All right. All right. So I come from 7, or I come from 8.
Oh, wow.
My older brothers passed away.
My condolences.
Appreciate it. That was 4 years ago now. I have 6 younger siblings. So I'm the oldest living. And interesting enough, I got my start on Instagram, right? That was my thing. Right place, right time. I mean, after a bunch of failed attempts, whatever. And similar. I mean, I made my literal first dollar online selling a shout out, right?
Nice.
And then flipped Instagram accounts. We grew and managed about 7 million, not for my own, but like for, you know, for clients and whatnot. And like this was, 2016. Probably?
Yeah, that's when I was doing it, dude.
Okay. Yeah. So like you probably like knew Farouk.
Yeah.
I
I used to talk to him on Kick.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
With him, Nathan Chan was
Yeah,
like,
Nathan Chan. That's how I learned how to grow.
Yeah, really? Yeah. So all that like crazy that
That's
started
crazy,
about the same time. So dude, the shadiest stuff goes down on Instagram and on were you were in the Telegram groups with the
every
rounds
single
and
Telegram,
every
like and follow
day, right?
everything. Yeah.
It's crazy, right? Okay, I want to hear your crazy. I'm going to tell you my craziest story. I want to hear your craziest story with Instagram. Okay, so this is the shadiest thing I've ever been a part of. What with this was I had an Instagram account. It was my primary account, like the one I did deals on, and had about 125,000 followers on it. Right, not my face, but it was very branded. People knew this. Log in one day, it's gone. Right, I'm like freaking out. Right, and not making much money at the time, but this was my deal maker. Right. So get on Telegram. I'm like, yo, who do we know can get accounts back? Blah, 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 blah.
How did it get taken? Banned?
it was just deleted. It was just gone, right? Like no, I didn't know that was the issue, right? And so like we're trying to figure it out. Telegram, right? It's like the black market of the internet, right? Or the social media. And so I finally got put in touch with this guy, and he goes, I can get it back. And it was like, I was gonna be like $3,000 or something, which at the time was like a stupid amount of money. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, but this is my business. And so right before I sent it to him, I was like, all right, how do I know you're gonna be able to get this back? And straight up, he goes, because I'm the one that took it down.
No way.
And I was like, no way, what? And I was like, why'd you take it down? He goes, somebody hit me up. You pissed him off. He paid me money. I took it down. You paid me money. I put it back.
That's crazy.
And I was like, no way. So I paid him next day. Not even the next day. It was a couple hours later. Back up and going.
Yeah.
That is crazy. So that's my crazy story. I'm curious. What's the craziest story you've seen with Instagram?
So my crazy story, similar, very similar actually. So you know how OG usernames work on Instagram, similar to how domain names have value, unique domain.
Yeah.
On Instagram, OG usernames have value too. So I ended up getting my hands on a username called Surfer, just the word Surfer, right? And I'm like, this is amazing. I'm going to sell this one day for a profit. So I have it sitting in my kind of accounts, my Excel sheet, whatever, in my back pocket. And I'm just doing my thing. And then a year goes by and I go to check up on that account and it's gone. The account is still there, sorry, but the username is gone. The username's been changed to like some random numbers and digits. And I'm like, what the heck just happened? And since you run multiple Instagram accounts, you know, you have like a sheet of like emails and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I go in there, I'm like, where's the email on this account? Like, what happened? And then I go log into the email, whatever. And then I see like a month ago, it says your Instagram username was changed, but there was no login attempt email that Instagram usually sends you. So I'm like, what the heck just happened? You know, I was literally so confused.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I know this is going to sell for so much money soon.
That's
especially right now.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Anyways, that account gets taken and I don't know what happened. And I'm like, whatever, I'm upset for like a day or two and I move on with my life. You know, another like year and a half goes by and I'm on this forum, which is where everything goes down, as you know, in this market.
Crazy. Yeah.
I'm on this forum and I see this person with the listing, like, we can claim any Instagram username. And I'm like, that's what happened. So I message this guy. I'm like, how much do you charge? He's like, $15,000 for a username. And I'm like, man, I'm done with this. Like, you know, I was out of the buying and selling game already.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I've moved on. I'm like,
that's
whatever.
Crazy
it's gone.
that they can just
take an L.
That's wild.
And it still works, dude. Like I've seen those listings to this day. Like you can still claim Instagram usernames. Go to these forums and you can grab them. And it's as long as they're inactive.
Yeah. Yep. But it's crazy that that's the game of how it works. Like and there's no like, people don't have no idea what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
There's no laws around it, right? It's all just like whatever. Yeah. So,
digital
okay.
asset.
So let's pick up with where you left off with that. So we got started on Instagram around the same time, sounds like, which is crazy. We ran in all the same forums, whatever. So at some point, I decided, so I had a business partner at the time. We ended up splitting ways. He wanted to go more the agency route. And I'm like, I don't know, we're not making money or not enough, right? And so I ventured off into more of the world of social media marketing as a whole, found Brunson, right? Got into the world of sales and all of that. That was my trajectory, right? So that led me to the world of coaching and online courses, and then also just consulting and business and all of that. Here I am doing a podcast, and you took a different path, right? So what did that look like? Because now you got 4 million followers on it. So what did your trajectory to get here look like with that?
So basically, I was selling Instagram accounts, but as you know, that market was getting super saturated, so many scammers, it was super shady. So I knew that wasn't something that was going to work long term. I ended up acquiring an account in the van life niche, which is now one of our main accounts at 1.5 million followers on Instagram. I ended up acquiring that account back when it was at like 100, 200,000. And by then I had grown accounts in every single niche you can think of, like as you probably did too, right? So
back when it was easy to do it. Did you see Tim Shields at this one?
Yeah.
Dude, I interviewed him this morning. But I'm like, you went and grew from 40,000 to 2.1 million in the last 7 months. I'm like, I did that too, back when it was like easy. You know?
Dude, I remember there was literally a time, especially with the follow and like tools and stuff like that, and like having influencers comment on your stuff. We could go from 0 to 1,000 followers literally within 24 hours.
Yeah.
Brand new account.
Over and over.
Real followers. So it was so
easy.
You
know, Josue Pena?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. So, all right, cool. Yeah.
Anyways, I end up acquiring this account in the van life niche. I'm like, I'm going to grow this. I'm going to sell it. I get the account in the DMs. I'm getting so many shout out requests. I'm like, okay, I can milk this for some more money, right? I start doing the shout outs, whatever. And then I'm still doing my marketing agency at the time because, side note, like as I was buying and selling Instagram account, this one entrepreneur in Montreal, he purchased an account for me for like $1,500, which at the time was the biggest sale I ever made.
Yeah.
And then he was
that's party money, right?
Exactly. At like 15, 16 years old, right?
Yeah.
So then he was like, I can't manage this myself. Like, I don't have time. Can I pay you to manage it? And then I was like on the phone with him and I just kind of froze. I'm like, I've never done this before. But I'm like, yeah, I can do that. We do that all the time.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay,
what's your entrepreneur right there?
What's your process? And then I'm just like thinking, okay, what do I do to grow accounts? And then I'm just laying that out. And he's like, perfect. I charge him like $200 a month. And then he also started referring me a bunch of clients who would then go on to like white label my Instagram services. But anyways, that's my marketing agency at the time. Have my van life business kind of growing. And then I'm like, okay, let me milk this for shout outs. And then I started noticing a lot of people started coming back to me over and over again with shout outs. And when, as you know, like when people are doing that, something is working for them, obviously, right? So I look at this and then I also start seeing drop shipping popping off around that exact same time, right? And then I joined like this Ty Lopez webinar, whatever. He's talking about drop shipping, taking products from AliExpress, putting them here.
Yeah.
And then I go back.
Ty Lopez.
Yeah.
He's like the OG.
Like,
like in my garage.
100%.
Yeah,
I watched his webinar from him and Adrian Morrison about drop shipping back then. And that kind of gave me like an epiphany moment. So I go back in my DMs. I'm like, wait a minute. Because I'm seeing all these regular random people selling so many different products. I go back and then I look at the product they're selling. I search it up on AliExpress and I'm like, this is what they're doing. They're all drop shipping. So I go to the person who kept hitting me up for shout outs over and over. And I'm like, I found their product. I created my Shopify store within like a week, which I took too long. But anyways, I got it up. And then I make one Instagram post, literally an image of the product. And I send it to the link. And in a day, we made $2,500 in sales off one post, right? Within 24 hours. Again, I'm like 16 at this point. It's like life-changing money, right?
Life-changing money when you're 16 years old.
Exactly. So I'm like, whoa, wait a minute.
Now it's like, a cheeseburger and fries and a night out. But
exactly. So I'm like, wait a minute, there's something here. I can grow this into its own brand. And so I started continuing drop shipping, end up scaling to like 6 figures. And then I still have my marketing agency running. Now I'm using my case study from Project Van Life to get more clients. So I'm almost growing 2 businesses at the same time at this.
Currently now? Yeah.
No, back then.
Oh, back then. Okay. Why van life? Like, do you do van life? Is that your thing?
So like I said, I just purchased the account. I saw it was doing well and I'm like, there's potential here. Let me turn it into its own brand. And so
where do you get your content? Oh, go ahead. Good.
So exactly. Yeah. So like when you don't have the resources, you have to be resourceful, right?
Yeah.
And so as you know, like theme pages were a big thing back then and they still are now. They're starting to die out a little bit, but so we would just take other people's content, we would post it on our profile and give them credit. And the good thing about that page was, like I said, the community was super engaged. We were the biggest account in the niche at the time because it was so small. Honestly, no one even heard about van life back then, right?
Yeah.
So many people would be in our DMs asking to get featured, and when we would feature them, they would be like, "Thank you," whatever. They felt like they got featured on Forbes. You know, like we became like a media company.
Isn't it crazy though how like different generations like value different things.
100%.
You could go to some 16-year-old or 18-year-old or even 21-year-old today and be like, would you rather be featured in Forbes or would you rather be featured on your favorite influencer's account? And they would choose the influencer's account 100% of the time. It's crazy.
It's all about connection, right? Because they have a better connection with the influencer.
Yep. So with van life, then, like, are you, like, I know you don't do it, but like, are you interested in that now? Like, are you, because like, so what, my best friend, actually the guy that built my podcast studio, and like, he's been my best friend for, I slept on his couch when I was starting out entrepreneurship, right? Like this, he took a old trailer and turned it into a full, like, living, like, say, like solar on the roof, plumbing, whatever. And he and his wife literally live in it, and they just drive around the country and like camp or whatever. That's their full-time gig. And he trades like crypto and stocks to like just pay bills or whatever. I mean, his monthly payment or expenses are like one of my car payments, right? It's so low. But he, like, that's his whole thing, right? And I'm like, I feel like you're either into that or you're not into that, right?
I'll be honest, I'm not into it. Like we've done it, done it part-time and it's fun doing it part-time, like 3 to 5 days, but I definitely can't do it full-time. And honestly, a lot of our target market now is also doing it part-time. Like they're like 45 plus retirees doing it part-time. But yeah, so I just kind of got into it because I got the page. I saw an opportunity. I needed to kind of provide for my family. So I took that opportunity essentially. And so you're wondering like, how can I teach people? So we had our physical products and stuff we were selling, like world map watches, like bracelets, stuff like that relate to travel. But there was a lot of overhead involved in that. Like it was making good revenue, but then the profit margins with e-commerce, as you know, physical products, like 20 to 25%. I'm also drop shipping this stuff at the time. And so I didn't feel good about selling it because I knew it was from China. I knew it was low quality. And like most people, like they're paying a small amount. So like they don't care. But like the few you would see on like, you know, customer service, I would read the emails and they would get to my head. I'm like, I can't keep selling this stuff, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Like I can't build a brand like this.
Yeah.
So anyways, I started hearing a lot about...
Which, by the way, I think is... How old were you at the time?
Probably like 17.
Okay, like that's crazy wisdom for a 17-year-old, right? Like to recognize that, because I think a lot of 17-year-olds, I mean, at that point, you're like, yo, I'm making money and I don't even know who these people are. Who cares, right? 100%. So props to you, because I think that long-term that will benefit. I'm sure it has benefited you well, right? But also like just to recognize that like the headache that you avoided, right? Particularly once COVID hit. Oh my gosh, can you imagine?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. And honestly, like that was a good thing, but it was also a bad thing at the time because like I said, from one Instagram post, like with no skills, no optimization, nothing, made 2,500 in a day. So imagine if I optimized it, refined it, built the brand better. Yeah. So I could have scaled that e-commerce way better, but I started getting super, super protective. I'm like, I'm going to ruin the brand. So I'm like, less promotions. I don't want to saturate the audience. Like I started getting super protective. So again, it was a good thing and a bad thing. But ultimately, I started seeing digital products starting to pop off. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, 100% profit margin. I have an organic audience. This is going to be huge, right? Yeah. So I started transitioning over to that. But the problem was that obviously I'm not doing van life. I'm not an expert. I can't teach it, right? Yeah. So I started reaching out to these van builders who at the time were always in my DMs because they want to get featured, professional van builders. I'm like, look, I'll feature you guys. I'll feature you guys on our email. I'll feature you on our website, on our Instagram. In exchange, can you help me create, a masterclass or a video or a course on building a van? And so they did that. And so that was like my MVP offer. Started doing really well. We started selling I started at $47 one-time payment. Super scared. I'm like, dude, $47 is so much. I was selling like, $15 necklaces and stuff like that. But anyways, started doing that. It started doing really well. Digital products, and then ended up scaling into ads and a whole bunch of other things. Oh yeah, you did got ads turned on too? Yeah. Yeah. And then, so I started getting super protective over the brand. And at the time, like you probably know this too, like Instagram accounts would get banned because of like the strategies we would use. Like they were making so many changes to the algorithm. So I'm like, I can't let this get banned because as you know, you experience your account getting taken away and it's like devastating, right? Especially when it is your revenue source. Exactly. Right? Like your life is dependent upon this account performing. Yes. So I'm like, I need to start diversifying because I'm all in on this one Instagram account right now. So I'm like, okay, let me create a backup account because that was the most typical thing. I create a backup account. I start promoting the backup account with the main account. And it's the same thing. Like we're posting basically the same content, but it starts growing, right? And then I'm like, okay, this did really well. The account's at like 50K already, after like 6 months. And I'm like, let me create a backup account for the backup account. And then I created 2 more backup accounts. And then, dude, like, I'll send you a picture of it. I literally have a hierarchy of accounts. Like this account shouts out these 2, those 2 shout out another 2. And then I built this whole hierarchy, ended up transitioning into other niches as well. And then I sold those accounts. I did a whole bunch of other stuff. But dude, I wonder how many people like that don't know about this world sit there like on a Friday night or like on a Thursday afternoon and they're scrolling through and they like spot the patterns and they go, these people are literally just shouting out. Like you got to know some people see it, right? And they probably got to go, these idiots. Like they think you're over here just like collecting, you know what I mean? Like growing and collecting checks off of it. And it's just like, it's so crazy that like what works actually works. Yeah. Right. Like 100%. When you actually sit down and realize it, you're just like, this is what works. Really? I was just rinsing and repeating the process I knew was working. Right. And so that's how we got to like 4 million now, right? Because I have so many accounts. Like I think we have like 8 different ones on Instagram. We have like 100K on YouTube. We have like another 100 on Facebook, TikTok, etc. And these are all like the people creating the content are not you. No, not me. Yeah. So it's a lot of stuff sourced from the community. People DM us or like we'll see something going super viral. We'll DM them, be like, hey, do we have your permission to repost this? 95% of the time they say yes because they also get, followers and stuff from us. And then I hired a social media manager as well. Because I'm like, I need to do promotions and I can't, like these people in the DMs, they're just sending me their content. I can't promote stuff like this. Right? Yeah. So I hired a social media manager. So she creates content related to like the stuff that we want to promote, mostly sending to our lead magnets. We now also have videographers in the States. Literally, a lot of them are like living in their vans. and they'll go around, they'll meet up with different van lifers, and we just subcontract them, pay them per video, and they'll literally film like mini documentaries of people, like their stories and them living in their vans. So
and none of these followers know who you are.
None of them.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Do you wish they did? Or are you like, I'd rather not have the fame?
So the thing is, I don't represent that lifestyle, right? So it doesn't make sense for me to kind of go in there. Like, they'll be like, who are you? You know, you're not even living in a van.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, I stay behind the scenes. I let the people who are actually representing van life, like, get their shine on the pages. In the beginning, I'm like, man, this, like if you were to ask me like 3 years ago, I'd be like, this is a bad thing. Like, I'm not on the face. Like, it's so hard to grow. Like, I would come up with all these excuses. But now that I've kind of become more knowledgeable in like this whole space after meeting everyone and talking to a bunch of people, I'm starting to realize that I'm building a really good business because I can exit out of it.
I was going to say,
yeah,
like, you did the hard work, not even realizing you did the hard work, right? And like, for sure you could exit this and this. Primarily, where your revenue come through digital products now?
Yeah, 100%.
Like what kind of revenue you do off of like the digital products?
So we're doing $37 a month. We have 2,000 subscribers currently, so we're doing 6 figures.
Nice. So 30. You have 2,000 at $37. So is that 60? Wait, you're doing 6 figures a month?
Yeah,
and amazing off of the membership. So for the membership product, is it like just teaching like how to's and stuff?
Yeah. So right now right before I came into this Russell Brunson world, which was just recently 3 months ago, I was selling everything at a one-time offer for $97. And it was really hard to scale it because you're always in launch mode, like always launching a campaign. And then, you know, that the day your campaign ends, whether it be a webinar, a summit, you know, a promotion on your Instagram, 100%. You're back to zero, right? Yep. So I'm like, man, this is going to burn me out. So I heard of everything Russell Brunson was doing. I'm like, this makes a lot of sense. So I transitioned into that. And then we built
What's the first book that you read from him?
The first book I read from him was The Linchpin.
The Linchpin one? Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, I attended the funnel hacking live virtual event, and that's what he was pushing the Linchpin model. I got that book. I'm like, this makes a lot of sense. It's going to work really well for my business. And then I read all of his 3 expert secret books within like a month. And then I signed up at the exact same time. I'm like, this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Dude, Russell's...
He's the OG, man. Like, I was just telling you this earlier. Like, I would follow all these YouTubers on YouTube, sorry. And I'm learning from them, right? Because there's so much good knowledge out there for free. And everyone in their background has a 2CCX award or like some sort of ClickFunnels
brilliant marketing. Yeah, Russell. Yeah.
Genius. Yeah. And then I get super deep into like this Alex Hormozi world, reading his books, watching his videos. Then one day I see a picture of him on stage with Russell Brunson holding Russell Brunson's award. And then I'm like, dude, everyone's learning from this guy. Why don't I go straight to the source? Yeah. And so I'm here now. And it's been an amazing.
It's very interesting for someone like me. So I've been in the ClickFunnels world for probably 7 years now. Right. So, I mean, I wasn't an OG, but I'm pretty OG in the sense of, you know, from a lot of this. And so it's interesting to watch new people come in and join the community. Yeah. Right. And like rediscover things. Like I hear like people discovering things for the first time. And like, it reminds me of like the excitement and whatever, like when I've discovered it, like for the first time, like .com secrets, dude, his first one. Like I remember it was free plus shipping, right? And their shipping was like $8. And it's like this Illuminati video and he's like in this dark office or whatever. And I'm like, this is for sure a scam. He's going to take my $8, right? Like I'm so afraid. I'm like, I don't have it. I'm super broke, right? And I'm like, click the button, order it. And Reddit is like just light bulbs, right? It's just like this. And like seeing other people discover it or like come in and discover it is like, I'm like, man, I gotta go back. Like go back to this. And I've read Expert Secrets. Expert Secrets is my favorite. The blue one.
100%.
I've read it 17 times now.
Yeah. I just finished reading it like 3 months ago and I've read it twice already.
Yeah. Absolutely life-changing stuff. I'm curious. So Linchpin model, is that your biggest takeaway from Russell?
Yeah. Right now. Currently.
Yeah. So far. So like you've been in for 3 months. Actually, let's back up. Let's back up to the bit. So currently right now as the business stands, you've got kind of these two things, right? You got marketing and you got the van life. Yeah. What does that look like now in current?
So right now, social media marketing aspect of it, we focus on Instagram organic growth and because that's like the main thing that I'm really good at. Mm-hmm. So I've even done campaigns with like Ford, Volkswagen, and Polaris. They've even invited us out for trips that were like fully paid for, like amazing like adventure trips, you know? So that's amazing. I don't put too much focus on that anymore. I would say like 20% of my effort maybe.
On the
marketing agency,
yeah.
Because it makes sense for me to phase it out because I have literally 4 million followers, and as we had this discussion, like I'm leaving so much money on the table.
Your highest price offer is what?
$37 a month. I mean, if you consider the upsell for it, which is a yearly subscription, it's $370. So I'm leaving a lot of money on the table. That's what my biggest takeaway from this event is high ticket.
Yeah. Okay. And so that's my world, right? Like that, like. So there's marketing and sales, right? And you know the difference, obviously. I was actually talking about some of this earlier. And I'm like, I was born, or like I came into this world through marketing, through Russell, marketing, right? And I thought marketing was it. And then I learned sales. And I'm like, whoa, these are two different things, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, like, I'm like, would I rather make $20 or $100 or $300 on a transaction, or would I rather make 25,000, right? And I go, yep, definitely 25,000. And so then I look at the two sets of challenges, and they're so different sets of challenges, 100%. Right? But for me, like with coaching, right, in the digital space, is if I'm going to work with someone, I'm going to coach someone, I've got to vet them, right? I've got to make sure. So I got to make it worth my time, right? And so I doubled down on that. Dude, my lowest price offer is $7,500, right? That's my lowest, right? And it's different. It's a different world, right? Yeah. Like you play a volume game, the quality game, but it's interesting. It's interesting that you've had the success that you've had, which is crazy inspiring, by the way. You're 22, dude. Like, bro.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, that's amazing. With only a $37, right? I mean, that's crazy with that. So does the marketing agency go? Like, are you cutting it out long term? Like, are you doubling down, or what does that look like? What's your vision long term with it?
So my vision for now is to grow Project Van Life and exit out of that business, just because like I said, so much opportunity there, so much enterprise value there as well. And then I'll probably circle back to my marketing agency, probably start building my personal brand. I don't know what exactly the offer will be for the marketing agency, but I do know that is something I enjoy doing because it's been like the core of everything I've done from the beginning.
Yeah. Do you have like when you say exit, like do you have like a target in mind?
I have no idea, man. Like I'd be happy if I got like 4 to 10 million on an exit.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much business I haven't done my due diligence there because I'm so focused on just growth right now. And I am doing research in the sense that how can I build a business in a way that I can exit it? And like we just talked about, a lot of those check marks are kind of there already, but there's a few.
Yeah. So I have a buddy I live in Denver, and I've got a buddy, and they're getting ready to exit for, I don't know if I can say on this, but you're in the range. Maybe he's a little more, right? But like that. And I asked him, I was like, what's the number one, like what's the thing? He goes, recurring cash flow. That like that. So like the fact that you already got, 6 figures and that and doubling down on that, I mean, it's great for an exit. Your profit can go up with high ticket stuff, but like for an exit, like cash flow is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes sense. Okay. So you're 22. You've achieved a fair amount of success. I think probably more than most people can comprehend at 22 years old, right?
I think so, yeah. But I mean, you see so many, like I see 17-year-olds with more success than me. So.
Yeah, but we live in a bubble.
Yeah.
Right? We live in a bubble, right? Yeah. Like crazy. And, sometimes I look around, I'm like, oh man, why am I not making $10 million a year, right? And then I like go drive through my neighborhood and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So like everybody in this neighborhood is like 50 or 60 years old and I'm 30. Got it, right? Like we live in this bubble, right? And the internet's great, but it's also just such a distorted reality, which is great. But you're 22. A lot further along than I was, 22, let's say that. But so there's something that drives you. Family sounds like it plays a critical role. We talked briefly beforehand about faith.
Yeah.
I'd love to kind of shift the conversation towards that and kind of understand a little bit more how that plays a role in your life and what you're doing and what the future vision looks like. Married?
Yeah.
Do you have kids?
Not yet.
Not yet. Planning on it?
Yeah.
Okay. My wife and I just had our first. She's 6 months old.
Congrats, man.
Adorable. Best thing ever. Go have a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I went from like, because I come from 8, right?
Yeah.
So I went from like, I'm not really sure, had my first. I'm like, everybody should have kids. They're amazing. Okay. So I want to kind of shift into the background of that and kind of your background of where we'll talk family and faith specifically. And to pre-frame this, I grew up in a pretty religious environment.
Yeah.
Left, not God, but kind of walked away from church and kind of stuff like that. Post high school, spent several years without it. My brother passed away in a helicopter crash, refound God. Then eventually about 18 months ago, recommitted my life to Christ specifically, but just the search for truth and all of that, right? And so when that happened, there was a core pivotal. I mean, you could go ask, it's like Brunson and all the people, everybody in this room, like, because I'm 7 years, right? Everyone could tell you, there was like this shift, right? And it was like when that happened, the world recentered, right? And it was like, oh, purpose and why I'm here and everything like that. Business became no longer the objective. It became the catalyst that allowed me to fuel what I was called to go and do. And I would say maybe not every, but almost all business decisions that I make now have shifted to align with that. Josh as a person, Josh as, a Christian, Josh as a husband and all of that, right? So religion and family play a massive role in my life in the last 18 months. I'm also 30, so still not that old, but this happened to me when I'm 28. I was not thinking about this at 22. I'm going to turn the question over to you now to say, what does that look like for you? And where do those fit in and play a role in your life?
Yeah, awesome, man. So family has always been like the biggest thing, my biggest driver. And specifically like having a purpose, right? Because like I said, my family, we were struggling financially, and I started to notice that like a lot of our needs are not going to be met if we kind of continue at this rate. So I wanted to do something. I wanted to make a change essentially, right? So that was always my main motivator. And I always tell people like the biggest thing you can do is like stack as many odds in your favor if you want to be successful. But the biggest one is always having a purpose, because that's what lights a fire under you, and that's what gets you going. Without that, it's like, cool, maybe you're working for like a Lambo, cool, you'll get it, but then what? You'll be sick of it within a week, right? Yeah. So having like a deep purpose is always the main thing. So my deep purpose was always family, and to be able to provide for my family. And I have been able to do that through my business. Just like 2 months ago, I told my dad he could retire finally. I've helped my sister pay off her student loan. She's becoming a lawyer. I've been helping my brother quit his 9-to-5 currently and trying to integrate him within my marketing agency, because like I said, I still have that kind of going. So I'm trying to have him take that over so he can quit his job. I've helped everyone in my family, like even brother-in-laws, stuff like that. So family has always been like the biggest aspect. The reason we're making this money, it's just a tool to provide for our family to help us achieve our goals so that we can ultimately focus on things that matter a lot more, which to me are religion, faith, family, things like that.
We're going to pick up there in just a second. I want to back up to what you said about purpose, because I think it's very interesting. You said you went down there Alex Hormozi rabbit hole, right? Yeah. It's pretty hard not to nowadays, right? Props to him. He's incredible at branding and content. You listen to some of his views on things and, philosophy and whatnot, and I'm not sure if you've listened to much of them, but he basically is like, nothing matters. We're all going to die. And, right? And so because of that, you kind of look at that and you go, man, you're really smart. And like, you now have a lot of business knowledge, but I don't really resonate with that. Right. Do you feel that at all?
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. So the way I look at it is like, you can take advice from someone, but you shouldn't have to take all the advice they're giving, right? Yeah. So like I look at Alex Hormozi, I'm like, excellent guy at business. I'm only going to take business advice from him. I'm not going to take relationship, not going to necessarily take life advice from him, right? So I almost have like different coaches and mentors for different aspects of my life, because if someone's doing really well relationship wise, I'm going to look up to them for relationship. Someone's doing well business. And the thing is like, it's really hard to find someone who's like perfect at everything. Right. Yeah. So that's kind of how I cherry pick from different people.
Do you think so? So when I went and studied relationships, because like, dude, I'm pretty dumb, and I'm a farm kid from Indiana with, I don't come from money or connections or skills or whatever, right? I lucked out because I have two parents that love each other, that stayed together, and that taught me morality and hard work, right? So like I understand it's a huge blessing, but overall, right, I'm like pretty average, right? And so when I look at like a Hormozi or someone like that, and no discredit to Hormozi, you're not either.
Yeah.
Business, when I look at business as a whole, my perception of business changed when I had a kid, right? And I went, okay, wait a second. My priorities have now shifted. And so Hormozi's advice, I was talking to a pretty good friend of mine about this. He goes, I stopped listening to Hormozi when I found out Hormozi, number one, valued business more than anything else, and number two, never planned on having kids. He goes, why? Because I got a bunch of kids. Yeah. Right. And he goes, I can take offer advice from Hormozi, right? Because he's really good at offer, and offers that doesn't change if there's kids or not, right? Like the offer's there, right? I can take a skill, this skill or this skill, But he goes, when you start mixing skills together and you have strategy, business, and things of that nature, right? He's like, I have to find someone that much more aligns with the type of life that I'm living, right? And so Brunson, right, for example, one of the reasons that I resonate with him so much, and he and I become pretty good friends over it, is I don't have the same faith as him, but we have similar, right? But very similar values. And I started, studying it. It's like values and then, mutual benefit and trust and all that. And so I look at someone like Russell and I'm like, okay, cool. I can start to take business advice, or I can start to take a broader thing because there's more alignment there. Is that roughly how you would approach it as well?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
And would you agree or disagree that there is a difference between taking a skill advice or a specific thing versus when taking multiple things together, like strategy or business? Like, they're different. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now picking back up on the conversation of, okay, family's always played a big role in this, right? Family was the driver for a while, or still is, right? But a core driver. Where did faith come into the equation?
So faith has always been in the equation as well. Like throughout my success, I've always turned to God to like ask him for success. Like us, like I'm Muslim, so we pray 5 times a day. And there was times where I was praying 6 times a day, like an extra prayer in the morning, just so I can ask God for more success and to kind of get us out of the situation that we're in. So in middle school is kind of when I was in middle school, my parents sent me to an Islamic school, private school. And that's kind of where a lot of the values,
Islamic private school?
Yeah. Yep. That's where a lot of the values kind of got ingrained into me at my core. So I would say that's kind of where it started. And then I've always held on to those. Like, mind you, I've been through trials and tests, ups and downs, but those values have always stayed within me. I always knew deep down inside what's right and what's wrong. And that's ultimately how I view religion. It's a roadmap for what's right and wrong. It's a way of living life. And if you do it, and if you truly you truly research religion, that's all it is. It's telling you how you should live your life. And if you think about it, like if everyone was to live their life like this, the world would be a better place. And everyone can agree to that. That's a fact.
Yeah. I struggled with religion growing up because I hated rules. Yeah. Right. I am like inherently, I'm like, tell me not to touch the table, I will do it because you told me I couldn't. If you just wouldn't have said anything, then I would, you know what I'm saying? Then I would have done it. But right. And I didn't understand it because I did not understand relationship. Right. And so relationship, when I felt like I had a relationship with God, when I had a relationship with Jesus, when I like all of a sudden now religion made sense. Yeah. Right. Because the analogy I always use is I decided to marry my wife. When we got married, right? Love is great, but we had to set some ground rules like, hey, don't go sleep with other women or don't go sleep with other men. Right. For her. Right. Yeah. Hey, here's how we're going to communicate. Here's how we're going to go. And it's like, are those rules? Yes. Do they make my life and marriage infinitely better? Absolutely. Right. And so all of a sudden it made sense. But if we weren't married and we were not in love and we had those rules, that would be weird. Yeah. Right. And it would be really not okay. Yeah. Right. That's how and so I actually think that, I know factually, right? Like religion with all of its flaws, right? Or the people, right? That they're overwhelming net positive, to society. I would agree with that. When did you meet your wife?
So she went to the same middle school as me. It's the same Islamic school. Yeah. Are
you like middle school sweethearts?
Basically.
Really?
Yeah. So wow. She had a crush on me back then.
Yeah.
But we didn't really talk because like Islamic school, it doesn't make sense in that environment. But anyways, I went off to my high school. She went off to get homeschooled as high school. We never talked. We never connected or anything like that. But after high school, she messaged me on Instagram and then we kind of kicked it off. We got in touch again. We got married when we were 20.
Wow.
So it's been almost 3 years now.
Almost 3. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good. Like it? You like marriage?
I like it, man.
Yeah. You like marriage? Yeah. You said kids are coming, right?
Yeah.
Is that near future or?
Near future.
Near future? Yeah. Congratulations, dude. So what's the, do you view your business as a catalyst for like basically fuel for your life?
Absolutely.
Okay. So what does the future of life look like for you then?
Yeah, man. So I always want to, I don't see myself doing this lifestyle where you retire and you're done with everything. Because honestly, that's fake, man. You're gonna get sick. You're gonna get bored. You're gonna get miserable. You need something to keep you busy. But I also want to make sure that I spend time with my family and stuff like that. So like I said, future, I want to exit from my business. My goal is to have either a marketing agency or some sort of business where I have equity in multiple businesses. So I have leverage, because dealt with working in the business, and I'm working towards working on the business now, and I'm getting better and better at it. And I'm like, this is a much better world.
Yeah.
Because it's more like making money with your mouth, making decisions and stuff like that. So a lot of it is, I originally started off by, helping myself, helping my family, moving to more distant family. And so I almost want to use business as a way to start helping people within my community and keep going bigger and bigger. I don't know where it's going to take me, but let's see.
Do you think you'll have a big family?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Like, if you had to guess, how many kids do you think?
I want like 4 at least.
I think 4 is that big. I come from 8, right? I know a lot of people with like 12 and 13. So that, I mean, that's like, yeah. Before I think my wife and I'll probably about that. But
these days I hear a lot of people say 2, so I'm saying 4 is like double. That's why I'm thinking of it as.
We need more kids. We need more kids in the world, and we need more kids with
values.
Right. Strong fathers, strong mothers, strong. I mean, shout out to mothers, right? I mean, mothers have saved society and have, played a role that they should not have had to play. I mean, taken on responsibility that they should not have had to, right? And fathers need to step up and,
absolutely.
Really, like, I want to say props to you, and it's really encouraging. Like, I am a big believer in marriage, right? Big believer in family. And, the fact that like you're 22 and you're married and you want a kid, like, that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
So congrats on that. And thank you. I don't know. It's commendable, right? And I think the world needs more of that. In the Islamic faith, is there, so like in the Christian faith, in the Bible talks about like go out into the world and make disciples, right? Is there that call in the Islamic world? Like is a core part of what you do go out and bring more people into the faith, or is that what that looks like? And is business a vehicle for that for you? You think, or is how does that fit into business, or does it even?
I think ultimately everything ties back to like your purpose, your core. So in some way, because religion is at my core, it would somehow tie back.
Yeah.
But I also think like you shouldn't force religion onto people. Instead, you should be a good role model. You should live your life in a way where people get attracted to you. And when they start looking deeper, they understand that, this is where these values are coming from. And that'll ultimately attract people. Of course, it's fine to preach, and you should do that if you have the knowledge to do it. I don't personally have that knowledge, but I ultimately just want to be a role model for people.
Yeah.
And so when they see me, they look deeper, they understand these values are coming from religion, and that'll ultimately hold them towards it as well.
Interesting. Do you think that there would be, someone asked me a question one time. It was one of the best questions I've ever been asked when it came to religion. And they said, so you believe in Jesus? And I said, yes. In the Bible? I said, yes. And they said, what would it take to change your mind? And I went, ooh, I don't know. Right? So I'm curious, like I'm pretty certain in my faith, but what would it take, or do you think that it could be done to change your mind on what you believe?
At this point, no, only because, not because I'm being ignorant or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I get that.
I have done research into other religions.
Yeah.
Like I was actually in a Catholic school, so they would make us read, not make us, they would advise us to read the Bible. There was a religion class. And to be fair to them, they made us study all religions, which was really good, I think. And so I've studied a lot of different religions, and I've I haven't looked super deep into all of them, but like overviewed all of them. And I'm like, this kind of makes sense for me. So I also don't think you should blindly follow any religion, right? Like you should always do your research, look at your religion, look at other religion, and ultimately come to a consensus on what you think makes the most sense.
Yeah, I like that. That makes sense. I'm the same way, by the way.
Yeah,
but
that's good.
I'm like, I go, the consensus I came to with that is I don't think there's anything that you could do to change my mind, but I'm like, I'm not God. So I'm like, my search is for truth.
Yeah.
And so I said, I think that if I found something that like a truth that contradicted what I would believe.
Yeah.
If there was a better truth, right? I don't know if that's a thing, a better truth, but it makes sense. I'm like, I would hope and pray that would like, that God would reveal that to me, right? In that. But like based on the current information I know now, there's no way you can convince me otherwise. But that's why I'm like, oh, cool. That's what I'm gonna go learn.
Yeah.
So I like asking that question because it was one that stumped me for sure on that. So, okay, shifting into kind of one more kind of phase of this. One of the things that I love to do on the show and kind of an angle that we take with this is I like interviewing people that have achieved a certain amount of success. We kind of talked about this before. because I think they see the world differently, right? So if you've made a ton of money, you're going to see the world differently than someone that has not.
Yeah.
Not because money is good or bad. It's just like you just have. If you built teams, right? If you have grown 4 million followers, right? And built brands, if you've, whatever the thing is, right? You've had fame for some reason, or you've done crazy things, right? So you have a unique perspective of the world. And I think for someone like you, this might be your only perspective at 22, right? Of going through, but with growing that amount like of followers, yes, there's algorithms involved, but also there's a lot of human psychology involved in there, 100%. Right? So what have been some of the biggest learning, like what are some of the biggest learning experiences or perspectives shifts that you've had, and like things that you've noticed and learned about society and people and just life in general from growing this amount of followers?
So I would say the biggest thing is, man, you can convince people to buy anything. Honestly, if you do it right, you set up the right pre-frames, you kind of connect with them emotionally, you know, take down all of their false beliefs. You can almost sell them anything. There's a saying in sales, maybe you heard of it. You can know nothing about the product, but if you know everything about the prospect, you can literally sell them anything. And that's the biggest thing that I've learned.
How do you think that applies to the rest of life? Because that could be a very good thing. It could also be a very, I mean, like you're in Canada, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you follow American politics at all?
Not much.
Okay.
I don't follow any politics much.
Well, I will tell you that principle has been very well applied, right? To this. So like, how do you think that it affects the other areas of life?
Yeah. So obviously like people use it to their advantage negatively to impact and control people for sure. And as you study business and you start learning these patterns in people in psychology, and how you can kind of use it to get people to buy your products, you realize that those principles are being applied on a political level to control people.
Yeah.
Whether it's in America, whether it's in other countries, it's all happening.
Yeah. That makes sense. You know Dan.
Yeah.
Dan Henry, right? So I was at his house in Costa Rica. And for those that don't know, Dan is also Muslim. And it was like, I don't know, it's like 2:00 in the morning or something. It's me and him and his videographer. So it's Dan, a Muslim, me a Christian, and his videographer an atheist, right? And we're sitting in his pool and talking, and Dan goes, or no, his videographer goes, so like, you really believe that like Jesus is going to come down and like split open the sky or whatever? And I'm like, yeah. And so I go into like the whole like Revelation story or whatever. And I'll never forget, Dan looks at me and he goes, do you know why Christianity, Dan, right? Like, do you know why Christianity isn't the thing? Isn't it, Josh? And I go, why, Dan? Right? That's all you can do with Dan. And he goes, because I know marketing and marketing is manipulation, right? And he goes, and the story of Jesus saving everybody from their sins and the whole thing, he goes, it's too good of a story, bro. Right? He's like, Islam, we don't need any of this stuff, right? It's just factual and here's how it is or whatever. And his whole argument against, I mean, factually, and he wasn't joking, like factually, his biggest issue with Christianity is the fact that he's like, I think it is just a mass manipulated thing, that a brilliantly marketed story. And in a way, he's absolutely correct, right? By the way, right? But when you said like you can make people buy anything, first thing I thought was that conversation, right? Because it's absolutely right. You can apply that. And in business and entrepreneurs, one of the things I noticed when we were talking with you and your wife in the conference where I was asking you about Russell, right? And you're like, dude, I came into this world and everybody has a bigger purpose, right? Whether it's their kids, their family, or whatever. And so they're using this manipulation, which has a negative connotation, but everything is manipulation, right? They use manipulation for good, right? And they're wanting it to do better. So in what you're doing, is the brand that you're building and the products and stuff that you're selling and the things that you're learning or whatever, are you coming at it from that lens, which is, if I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to run it through the lens of, is this positively impacting or negatively impacting? Is that the lens that you view things through? Yeah,
absolutely. And that's been like at the core of it as well. Like it comes from religion, it comes from family, and it just comes from being a human. It doesn't even have to come from religion, right? Like there was a study done about how atheists are also moral people, even though they don't have religion. So I think humanity, we're just built to be naturally good people and do positive things, but obviously some people will kind of astray from that. But yeah.
Do you think people are inherently good?
I think so, yeah. I think at the core of it, everyone is good, but something, either their environment, their circumstances, something happens and they go astray.
Interesting. Well, dude, this has been a lot of fun. And is there any part of your story that was like, that we didn't cover that's like a core part of it that we missed at all?
No, I think we covered most of it.
Okay, good. Well, I appreciate you coming on. And I want people, actually, do you want people to be able to find you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm cool with it.
All right. Okay, cool. I'm like, I don't know. You built 4 million followers. Didn't show your face. Where can people find more about you or follow up with you? Yeah.
On Twitter, Sami Syed 720, SAMISYED 720. Probably need a better username, but that's what it is. And then
we'll link it down below. Yeah.
On Instagram, it's Sami_Syed with 2 Ds at the end.
With 2 Ds. Okay. Twitter, you're big on Twitter?
I'm not big anywhere. I don't have a personal.
Okay, let me rephrase that. Do you like Twitter?
Twitter.
You send people you send people to that platform, so you must be active on it, yeah?
A little bit, yeah. I just started.
Yeah? Why?
Because one of my friends motivated me to, because I ultimately know that once I sell Project Van Life, I'm going to be moving into another business. And if I have a personal brand, it's going to amplify anything that I do. Yeah. So I'm like, let me just start kind of seeding it and growing it now. And so,
but why Twitter or X, I guess now, but why that platform?
So I have a friend who's big on it.
Do you follow Elon at all?
No, not much.
Really? Interesting.
I don't scroll, man. Like not on TikTok, not on Instagram.
Yeah, but like Elon Musk, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So when he bought, he bought Twitter though, right? Yeah. Okay. So when he bought it, I think that was, and I know you don't follow politics much, but I think that I think Elon buying Twitter was one of will go down in history as a pivotal moment for the preservation of free speech, right? Really, truly. Right?
Agreed.
Which is critically important, I think, for society. But what's interesting about Twitter is, like, I wanted to get on there so bad, right? Because I was like, Elon, yeah, I'm gonna support or whatever. Yeah. There's like all the other social media platforms, and then there's Twitter, dude. Yeah. Like, it is a war zone. And you get on there, and I'm like YouTube or Facebook, or you get some hate comments or whatever, right? But it's just like, it's a no-name person, or it's like a whatever. Twitter, it's like you post something, it doesn't matter. It could be the most like everybody agrees on this thing or whatever in real life. And it's just this battle zone of hate. I mean, I don't know if hate's the right word, but just like, and
opinions.
Yeah. And people just attack you on it. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go and build on it. And I started posting on there, whatever. I got to like 2,000 followers or something like that or whatever. And after probably a month or two of it, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Right? Like, I can't, like, every time I log in, I'm just like bracing for all of that. Yeah. And so I said, I love Twitter. I mean, it's my favorite platform to get news on and, and like engage with people and like watch what's going on. But like that platform, I'm like, I don't know if my brain could take it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because peace. Yeah. But
absolutely.
Anyway, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. We wrap up each of these interviews with rapid fire questions, more lighthearted, just to kind of get to know you a little bit more. You ready to rock and roll?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. First, what is one bucket list item that you have not yet done in your life?
Winning a 2CCX award.
Winning a 2. All right. Dude, you'll get that like this year, bro. Yeah, you got continuity turned on? All right. That's awesome. Yeah. I think Russell would actually love your story with the stuff. Maybe I'll mention it to him. And yeah. Cool. Second, who's one person you want to meet before you die?
I don't know, man. I don't have a specific person that I kind of look up to the point where I really want to meet them. Like at this point, like you kind of learn everything from social media, but I don't have that. Like I really want to meet this person because I just don't have it,
Interesting. Huh. All right. What's one book that you think every entrepreneur should read?
How to Win Friends and Influence People.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's like the core of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting that you say that too, particularly with the social media background, because I think like a lot of kids or a lot of people that grew up in social media, it's all fake, right? So like they don't even understand humans or human interaction, 100%, right?
Yeah.
And I was homeschooled. And so that was one thing. People are always like, homeschoolers are so weird. I'm like, I don't know about you, but I'm like one of the most outgoing, like know how to interact with people because my parents did a really good job with that. So that's a good one. Okay. Last question is I want you to fast forward to the end of your life. Okay. You're on your deathbed and everybody that you've impacted, which you're talking millions, bro, all these van life people, whatever, right? Yeah. But they don't know you, but all the people that you've impacted and been called to serve, they forget everything you've ever told them, your life, all of it. But you get to leave them with one final message, a final piece of advice or, message of life that they will believe 100% true and act accordingly with no other context or justification needed. What's the message?
I would say always have a purpose bigger than yourself. Instead of being selfish, look for a purpose that's greater than you, because ultimately you will always fulfill your selfish needs. But if you have a greater purpose, you'll always be driven to achieve that. And more people will remember you for it.
Good stuff. Dude, thank you. Appreciate it. Hey,
take care.
Good. All right, guys. Until next time, we'll see you. Peace.